God is resurrecting your dreams back to life. The Lord gave me this prophetic word a few days ago while I was in prayer. I was journaling, I was spending time with the Lord, and He reminded me of something that was so profound. And as I was spending time with this, and as He was ministering to me about my own situation, God said, I need you to release this word to my people who are in a season of discouragement and doubt about the dreams that they feel like I'm not going to fulfill because nothing is happening. The Lord told me, God is resurrecting your dreams back to life. Maybe God has given you a dream and you've given up on it because nothing is happening with it, or you see no signs of it coming to pass, and now you're even questioning if this dream was really from God, and you're starting to doubt the desires that you have in your heart. And maybe you even tried to do what God has asked you to do and try to put in the effort to make this dream come to pass, but there was pushback after pushback and roadblock after roadblock, so you kind of just given up on it. But God's delays are not denials, and I'm here to remind you and encourage you that just because you see nothing happening with it, just because it's been years and you're like, I don't even know how this is even going to come to pass, like nothing, not even a single thing has happened with this thing, I want to remind you that God's delays are not denials. Just because it's not happening right now or hasn't happened in the last couple of months or years does not mean that that is dead, does not mean that that is God saying no. Sometimes the no right now just means it's not time yet. And God wanted me to come on here and encourage you that those dreams are not dead. God is working something out behind the scenes that you can't see. So trust that God's delays have a good reason. Back in 2019, I had a dream to open up my own coffee shop. I even started doing the whole entire business plan and vision. I had the PowerPoint mapped out. I had every single idea of what I wanted this coffee shop to look like. I wrote down the vision. I even flew to Bali. If you guys don't know anything about my story, I got saved in Bali and God intervened. Divine intervention happened while I was in Bali, thank God. But I went to Bali and I was trying to make this dream come to pass. I was trying to make this dream happen because I knew that this was a strong desire in my heart. Now, backstory, I wasn't saved at this point, but I knew who God was, but I was not living a Christian life. I was deep into New Age, and this coffee shop was going to be a New Age coffee shop. There was going to be crystals and all these things about manifestation and all these things, and I was trying to manifest this coffee shop opening. And so I went to Bali after I was in a toxic relationship. I went to Bali to seek out my eat, pray, love story, and I was going to Bali to heal. And I was going to do all these New Age ritualistic ceremonies to heal my broken heart, to mend my broken heart while still looking for God. I was still journaling to God, being like, God, please save me. I didn't know that New Age was against God. I had no idea because I wasn't reading the Bible. I wasn't in my word. I didn't have any Christian friends. I didn't know any better. But I was still seeking out God. But God knew my heart. God knew that I was trying to seek Him, but I was seeking Him in all the wrong places. And I was going and I was like, okay, I've manifested everything in my life, but why can I not manifest this coffee shop? Why is this not opening? Why, God, I feel like you put this dream in my heart, but why is this not happening? And I kept hitting roadblock after roadblock. I would go to meet with all these investors in Bali and nothing was happening. I was trying to buy land. I was doing all of these things. I had the money, I had the resources, I had the connections, but nothing was happening. Now, crazy story, look how God intervened. His no's were not denials. He just needed to do something in my heart. He needed to change something in me before that dream could come to pass. And I thank God every single day on my knees that dream did not come to pass, that New Age coffee shop did not open. Now listen to what God did. Listen to what God did. And the last day in Bali, I was like, God, why did you allow me to come here if you weren't going to heal me? And I remember I heard God say, go in your backpack and throw away your crystals. I knew that wasn't my voice, that was God's voice because I believed in these crystals. And in that moment, God gave me divine revelation. I dropped to my knees and I said, I'm so sorry, God. I'm so sorry, God. I'm so sorry that I was running past you and I was going to Bali to seek out all these other things instead of running to you. And I threw away everything. And I said, God, today's the day that I'm going to serve you. And in that moment, the Holy Spirit wrapped His arms around me and I was saved. And I was baptized in the Holy Spirit. And instantly He gave me this immediate desire to preach and had a hunger to learn the Bible. And all of these things were happening to me. And it was so overwhelming. And then a month and a half later, because I got saved in September, a month and a half later, I was led to go on a fast. I had no idea how to even do this fast, but I was like, okay, God, I'm not going to eat and I'm going to pray to you. And in that moment, that day, I said, you know what, God, thank you so much for not allowing that dream to come to pass. Thank you so much, God, that nothing was happening with this coffee shop. I didn't even know I was blind, Lord. Thank you for not allowing this new age coffee shop to lead other people astray. And so I gave up that dream and I was like, okay, this dream was not from you, God. This was my own desires. I had no idea. And I gave up this dream. Wow, the enemy is trying to distract me right now with this ice machine. I gave up that dream. And I completely surrendered that dream to God. And I said, you know what, God, if that dream was really from you, you'll give me a different idea. You'll give me a different vision for this coffee shop, because clearly that new age dream coffee shop was not from you. That day that I decided to fast, I kid you not, I remember the exact date, November 1st. I kid you not, that was the first day that I ever went on a 24-hour fast. And I was praying about my purpose because I was so attached to that dream. For 3 years, I was so attached. I had spent 3 years investing in researching and talking to people about coffee shops. And for 3 years, I dedicated my entire life to that dream. And so that first day that I went on that fast, I surrendered that dream to God, and I was praying about my purpose. And I kid you not, God led me to go pull out one of my old journals. And as I was flipping through this old journal, I flipped to a random page and it landed on my old business plan for this coffee shop. And as I started reading over it, the Holy Spirit reignited that passion and gave me a holy provision to turn it into a Christian coffee shop. And new ideas started flowing out like water. Like I started getting out my pen and paper, and I started writing down all these ideas and all these things that God was like flowing out of me. And a new coffee shop idea was birthed that day. I started writing down a new business plan and made a video of myself that day back in 2022, crying and thanking the Lord that He did not allow this old vision to come to pass, but He gave me a new holy idea that He brought back to life. The Bible says in Job 121 that the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. But sometimes God will do this to test us, to make sure that the dream isn't more important to us than the dream giver. He'll test you to make sure it's not an idol. And because I was willing to let my coffee shop dream die and give it up completely, God resurrected it and gave me new plans for it. God will test your obedience to see if He can trust you before giving you the promise. If He tells you no right now, will you accept that and still obey, or will you try to go ahead of God and make this dream and make these things happen on your own? Can you imagine if I would have tried to keep going ahead of God and make this new age coffee shop happen, even though I was getting no's after no's after no's? But instead, after I got saved, I was like, you know what, God, I'm going to surrender this dream to you. And I let that dream die. And because I was willing to let that dream die, God resurrected it and gave me a completely new holy provision for this idea. Because sometimes we have to be willing to give up something to God in order to get that thing back from God. Take Abraham and Isaac, for example. Abraham was willing to give up his son, which was a gift to him. Isaac was a gift to Abraham. But after God saw his faithfulness and his obedience, He gave Isaac back and he didn't have to sacrifice him. And just like my coffee dream, I was willing to give it all up. God brought it back to life in an even better way. Sometimes when God takes things away, it's for our own good. I thank God every single day that I didn't start that coffee shop when I wanted to make it a new age thing. I didn't know why nothing was working out, but God sure did. There was roadblock after roadblock and I couldn't understand why. But God's no then was the biggest blessing. So trust God if your dreams are not getting fulfilled right now. But that does not mean that your dreams are dead. God's delay or no simply means it's just not time yet. Listen to how good this is. In Acts chapter 1, verse 4, Jesus' final instructions to the disciples were, "Do not leave Jerusalem, but wait for the gift my Father promised." The disciples didn't immediately go out to preach into all the world, because why? They had to wait for the Holy Spirit. So while you wait for this dream to come to pass, just like the disciples waited for the Holy Spirit, remember that the promise is yet to come, but it will come because God is resurrecting your dreams back to life. God resurrected my dream back to life. A dream that I thought was dead, a dream that I thought wasn't even from God because it wasn't happening. But when I gave it up and when I finally surrendered it to God and I said, okay, God, you take it, show me what my purpose is. In that moment, because He saw my obedience and my faithfulness to surrender and give it up and wait for what He actually had for me, God gave me provision to make that dream a Christian coffee shop. My dream wasn't dead. God was just doing something behind the scenes, and he's doing that right now with your dreams.